Hey, Dr. Barry here. In this quick video, I want to talk to you about what the heck are macros. If you're new to the ketogenic way of eating, or low carb, high fat, or paleo, or ancestral, or if you're just new to the way a human being should eat and you'd like to know more about human nutrition, then you need to know about macros, and that's what we're talking about today. First, before I get started, please take 1 second and hit the subscribe button so that every time I get a bright idea, you'll be one of the very first people to know. Now, let's talk about macros. What the heck are they? If you're new to the ketogenic way of eating or the low carb, high fat, or any of the ways of eating that are more ancestral and evolutionarily correct ways of eating, you've been hearing a term thrown around. That's the term is macro, M-A-C-R-O. And I wanted to do a very simple video for you so that you could start to understand. If you're in the good keto groups, then they don't mind you asking questions. But some of the bigger keto groups they're kind of keto bullyish, and they'll yell at you if you ask too basic of a question. So I wanted to cover this very basic question for you so that you know exactly what macros are, and you've got at least that first nugget of keto knowledge under your belt, and you can go on to the next thing. So macro stands for macromolecules or macronutrients. And macro is Latin or Greek for large. It means big. And so these are the three big categories of nutrients that your body needs. Now, there are thousands of things your body needs. There are macronutrients, there are micronutrients, which are vitamin, minerals, and other phytonutrients. And then there's all these other things and there's probably a bunch of things that us smart humans haven't even discovered yet that we need from the food that we eat and that we get from the food that we eat. But today, let's talk about the three big macros, big molecules, big nutrients that you need. The first one, and since I really believe in the keto way of life, the first one's going to be fat. Okay. Fat is the first macronutrient that you need to know about. So fat is made of fatty acids, triglycerides, that sort of thing. And it gets quickly very complicated as you go down in the sizes, but we're going to stick with just fat, okay? Fat is an essential nutrient. You need fatty acids. There are certain ones that are called essential. What that means is that if you don't eat essential fatty acids for a long enough period of time, you'll get sick, you'll suffer, and you'll die. You have to have them. They are essential for proper human body function. So fat, that's the first macromolecule. The second macromolecule is protein. Okay. Protein, most people talk about as the building block, right? Proteins are made up of strings of amino acids. Amino acid is a micronutrient that makes up the macronutrient of protein. So fat's the first one, protein is the second one. And they're really both building blocks, not just protein, okay? Every membrane of every cell in your entire body is made up of lipids, which are fats. They're a micro form of the macro fat. And so without eating the essential fats that you need, you can't even make the cell membranes that hold your cells together, right? Now, obviously, that's going to lead to disease if you're not eating enough fat. So fat's the first important macronutrient. Secondly is protein. Protein is broken up into the amino acids. And you hear bodybuilders talking about eating lots of protein, about, oh, I've got to get this amino acid. There are essential amino acids, essential proteins that if you don't eat them, you will get sick, you will suffer, and you will die. The human body has to have protein in order to survive. Now, a lot of people eat too much protein, and a lot of people, I don't know why, but it's almost like a knee-jerk response. If I join the gym, if I'm trying to build muscle, then I'm going to take a protein supplement. Almost always, unless you're training for the Mr. Olympia, right? Unless you're an elite level athlete, you probably don't need a protein supplement, a protein powder, a collagen powder. You just need to eat good grass-fed meats and make good grass-fed bone broth. You're going to get all the protein and all the collagen and other good things that come out of animal products that you ever need by doing that. You probably don't need to waste money because most people eat too much protein as it is, okay? So those are the first two. Now, the third one is carbs, carbohydrates. That's the third macronutrient or macromolecule that we talk about in human nutrition. Carbs, if you're keto, if you're low carb, high fat, you know that carbs, when you eat them, even a little bit, they elevate your blood sugar level, which elevates your insulin level, and that can turn off the fat burning that you may or may not be trying to achieve by eating a ketogenic or a low carb, high fat way of eating. So carbs, now, remember there were essential fatty acids you had to have or you would get sick, suffer, and die. There are essential amino acids and proteins that you have to have or you'll get sick, suffer, and die. There are no essential sugars. Okay, there are no essential carbohydrates. There is no carbohydrate that you need. Now, there's many a doctor out there and many a nutritionist and many a dietitian who will tell you that you should eat 30 grams of carbs per meal or 50 grams of carbs per meal. And even some of them will tell you more than that. That's ridiculous nutrition advice, okay? That's one of the lies my doctor told me. You do not need to eat any carbs in any particular meal. Your entire body is more than capable of burning ketone bodies. Ketone bodies, there's 3 different ones. We'll talk about that in another video, that come from fat. Okay, your body, it knows exactly how to burn fat for energy. Now, here's something that you may have heard that is also a lie your doctor told you. You have to have sugar for your brain. Your brain can only burn glucose. That's a lie. That's not true. Your brain is perfectly happy to burn ketone bodies, which it can get from the metabolizing fat. Your body does not need any blood sugar from an outside source. Your body's perfectly able to make the glucose it needs by a process called gluconeogenesis, which means making new proteins. There's a cycle that we studied in medical school that your body's perfectly capable of doing that if it needs carbs, if it needs sugar, if it needs glucose. Also, your body's very, very good, unless you have severe end-stage kidney disease, your body's very good at recycling proteins. And so when you eat proteins, you can check your urine at your doctor's office and there will be no protein in your urine at all. Your body breaks that protein down constantly and reuses the amino acids, which are what the proteins are made of, right? And so for most people to be their healthiest, they need to eat high fat, medium protein, and very, very low carb. Those are the 3 macronutrients: fat, protein, and carbohydrates. Okay. Now, if you know someone who's just getting started in the ketogenic or low carb way of eating, please share this video with them so that, because, a lot of people don't want to ask that question because they feel dumb. This is a great way you can answer that question before they even answer it, because, every newbie wants to know what the heck is a macro, right? You can help them by sharing this video in your ketogenic groups, in your low carb, high fat groups, even in your paleo and ancestral groups. There are newbies, I guarantee you right now, that will love you so much for sharing this information with them. Now, if you really enjoy my videos and you feel like they've maybe changed your life a little bit, you can go to my Patreon link down below and throw a buck or two my way, and it helps me have more time to make more videos just like this one. This is Dr. Barry. I'll see you next time.